Welcome to the Get Back, music work talk in Central Texas, Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome to the Get Back. Joining me is Mark once again. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
And we always kind of remind everybody about the websites we have listed down in the show notes. Are kind of the best place to get information about this stuff, and we also have the specific articles that we're talking about today down there. Then we always wind up talking about beverages. I'm doing straight line coffee like usual. How about yourself?
Straight line green tea.
The hard stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Right on, brother. All right. Well, yeah, I think we should probably just dive in to the main topic of the day, which is the cutoff that's coming in Texas, unfortunately. Have you heard people talking about this week, Mark, or do people seem to know?
Just a little bit. I mean, I think people are starting to find out about it. I've received multiple emails from TWC about it, and all listing June 26th, I think, is the last date.
Oh wow.
Or 25th or 26th, something like that.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also talked to somebody at TWC, I think I mentioned that last time, who confirmed that, in fact, they are terminating benefits.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, for most of us, freelance and self-employed people,
right.
It terminates it completely because that was all reliant on the federal programs. For us to be eligible for that during this time. Yeah. So they're not terminating all unemployment, but we don't qualify for regular unemployment. Well,
if you're a W-2 employer, then you would still qualify, right?
Right, but they're cutting the extra $300 that those people have been receiving as well. So so they did finally put up a article on the TWC website, and it's difficult to find. It's not under press releases like you would expect, and there's no date on it either. It just says, as announced, May 17th, 2021, which is when the governor's order came out. It's still a little incomplete. Where is it? It's under unemployment news, but not press releases on the TWC website, and it's a very brief article, but it does have all the details that are important to understand about this. So it's all these different federal programs for unemployment are being cut off in the state of Texas. They were supposed to,
in a lot of other states too.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. It's not a majority yet, but it's getting close to 20 other states, right? Yeah. Oh, man. And they were supposed to go until September. So we knew they were ending pretty soon. But and our work is starting to come back, but it ain't back. It's not going to be back for a while to be full strength. So it's a little it's a little unsettling for a lot of us, of course. But let's just go through these programs. So this includes the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, the PUA, and that was the one for those who traditionally do not qualify for regular state benefits, such as self-employed and independent contractors, or if they had exhausted all their other benefits. Some folks are on that. And I think that also covered people that were having to not work because their children had to stay home and things like that as well. So so a lot of folks are getting knocked off of that, especially our folks. And then the other one is the longer acronym, the PEUC, which is Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, that extends regular state benefits longer than they normally would have. And of course, by now, even folks on regular unemployment have gotten onto that. A lot of folks have. And the next one is Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, which is FPUC. There's no E in that one. And that's the one that provides the extra $300 on top of whatever else you get from your unemployment. So that boost is going away. So it's almost all the unemployment that people are getting. The only way that you'll continue receiving is if you're on just regular standard unemployment insurance from a W-2 job that has not been extended already, right? So it has to be within the window of the thing. So and then it gives more specifics on the date. With the TWC, so you may continue to request payment for all weeks for which you are available, or for which you are eligible through the week ending June 26th. So I think you're still going to be able to make a payment request in that next week, but for the previous week. Does that sound right, Mark?
I think that's correct. Yeah.
That sounds like how it kind of works, right?
Yeah. So the last day that you can actually make a payment request, I think, is June 26th. I think. So that would be for the week before.
Request payment. Oh, that's not how I read it. Let's see. Let's read it here. So, if you're currently receiving federal benefits, you may continue to request payment for all weeks for which you are eligible through the week ending June 26, 2021. And that's an important point. That could be very confusing. I think what they're saying is that you can request payment for that week ending June 26th, but you wouldn't be able to do that until the next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right? And that's going to hang some people up. Yeah. The way that they're wording that's very muddy. But of course, that's how the system is set up. That's why we started doing this show in the first place, isn't it? Because things were just kind of muddy and hard to understand, and we got a lot of people on it now. It's not just a few people, using these benefits now. I mean, it's all kinds of people, more people than ever before. So, wow, okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, so let's see. So how can people tell what kind of federal benefits they're receiving if they're getting the PUA, the PEUC, the FPUC? How do people know which ones they're getting, Mark?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it shows when you log into TWC. Mm-hmm. And when you do your payment request or you're in your correspondence inbox, I think there's something in mine that tells me what I was granted, what kind of assistance I was granted.
Like your most current, statement of benefits or something like that.
Yeah. So if you log into TWC, there's a correspondence inbox, there's a payment request, there's a statement thing, and I think somewhere in there you're going to be able to find out which one you're on, if you're on one.
Yeah. You would want to use the most current one of those documents. I think you're right. It's one of those documents. I think.
But I mean, it's kind of a moot point in a way because for most of us, all of those are running out June 26th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're on regular unemployment and you can continue to be on regular unemployment, then that won't end on June 26th.
Right.
But that's the only category. And most of us, I think, went on as independent contractors or self-employed or whatever. So.
Yeah. There aren't that many, but there are some musicians that are still under W-2s.
Yeah.
And they may be able to stay on if their weeks haven't run out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, the majority of musicians in Texas are either self-employed or contractors, right? And so they're going to get cut regardless. So I think that's the most important thing for us to sort of communicate is that we don't want anybody thinking that they'll be able to stay on benefits after June 26th because they just won't be able to probably, unless they fit into that very specific category. So, it's tough, man. And we always knew it wouldn't go as long as we needed it to, especially for us, because our profession, relies on people having, disposable income and being comfortable going out and that's just going to come back slower than regular business, right? Our business is in sort of leisure activities in a lot of ways. It's difficult. Let me check the YouTube feed here and just see if we have anybody asking questions. I don't see anybody from the live audience asking questions, but it's kind of a simple answer, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, one other thing to mention too is that the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, is still ongoing. Mm-hmm. And I tried to look this up this morning, and I think the current deadline is May 31st, 2021, which of course is very soon.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
That effectively makes it today because that's a bank holiday.
Because that's a holiday, right.
Yeah.
So if you can possibly get your ducks in a row today with a lender, I personally would heartily recommend the PPP program. I got one, and it's there's a lot to be. It's a very positive program that basically gives you money every week, and then at the end of a certain amount of time, your loan is forgiven. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to be recommended, and it's also tax free. So if there's my guess is that they're going to extend that, but it doesn't say that anywhere on the website.
Well, yeah, I don't think they'll. It's not really an extension. They'd have to do another round, I think.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because I think this is the second draw PPP loan that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if they create a third draw.
Yeah.
But you have to go on the PPP website, which is part of the SBA, Small Business Association loan website, and just check and see what's going on with them, if you're interested in doing that. And I mean, the advantage again is that basically it's free money, but also you can't get that and still be on unemployment. But of course, for most of us, we're not going to be able to be on unemployment past June 26th anyway. So
that's right. Yeah.
It's really a good idea, I think, for people whose unemployment benefits are running out to check into this PPP thing. It might kind of provide a little bit of a, stopgap coverage for the summer for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about that quite a bit when our brother Floyd was on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the date was when we had him on. It was in April, I think, or maybe it was the end of March. I don't know.
When he was on the show, you mean?
Yeah, when he was on the show talking about the PPP. I'll put the link in the show notes afterwards.
Yeah, it was like 6 weeks ago, I think, that he was on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put a link to that as well. Yeah, because that was a useful conversation, and I think you're right. I think that program will come back, especially if the focus of lawmakers. I mean, it's clearly not on working people right now, um, but that's a way that they can kind of keep their focus on helping employers
Yeah.
in a way that actually helps the workers as well.
Yeah, and just to explain that a little bit further, you don't need to have any employees besides yourself
hmm
in that PPP program. So
Now,
well, the way it is set up now, yeah.
excellent point. Yeah,
And so if you're a self-employed contractor and you're the boss and the employee, then you could qualify for the PPP program. And I just noticed also on the website it says until May 31st, 2021, or until remaining funds are exhausted.
oh, okay.
So there may be a little wiggle room there too for people who are doing that. And you can always, if you're interested in it, you can refer back to the program when we were on 6 weeks ago when Floyd Domino was on and gave a lot of particulars about that. But
hmm
basically, if you have a local bank, a local lending institution, that you can have them submit the application for you to the SBA for that
Right.
loan.
Yeah. 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 I can report because I believe Floyd and I were using the same institution, and they stopped taking
Yeah,
applications like in the middle of April, um, because they had so many already. I think, or I'm not sure exactly what the reason was, but they had stopped taking them. Yeah, like around mid-April. Um, so not all the local institutions might be there, but in the first round, I heard of people doing the PPP loans, being able to get them through their PayPal account, actually through PayPal, because PayPal is also a bank, you
right.
know. So that could be interesting, especially if you're trying to get it done like in one day today. That might be
Well, yeah,
a
and
way.
if you
Yeah,
if you go on that SBA PPP website, you can actually find a list of local lenders in your area
right. Yeah,
that can help you out. I
yeah.
don't know if it's current, but
I believe that program. I'm almost positive that program has run out of money. I think I heard that on the
oh,
news
really? Oh,
like
okay.
last night or the night before.
Hmm.
But it's something to keep in mind, and there is, like in the first round, which we didn't qualify for. Usually, the individual sole proprietor didn't really qualify for. But I think if you applied after the money ran out, they kept the application for the next round.
Hmm.
And yeah, hopefully there'll be another round because that's a good program when it's used right. Of course, so you do hear about employers that that they use it, only for certain employees, or
Yeah.
and they're still, well, I guess we don't really know yet. I mean, history hasn't really shown yet whether or not that kind of behavior will result in those loans being forgiven, if they don't bring their actual employees back, and they just pay the management salaries or something. We don't know. So we will see. Yeah, but that's an excellent point, though. Yeah, it's something to watch out for because I think that program, yeah, it will come back. But yeah, we'll have to find out from the actual horse's mouth. Let's see. I'm going to put a link to the newspaper article about the governor's announcement last week because I think I put the article from the governor's website last week. So this week I'll put the Statesman article. But it's kind of the same thing. There's not a ton of concrete information about the benefits in that article, but it's more about the rationale or what the perceived rationale is. And it's got a good quote from Rick Levy, our Texas AFL-CIO president, who came out in opposition, obviously, to this, and makes a lot of good points about how, just because there are jobs available doesn't mean there's jobs for all of us out there, and certainly not in our profession. There's not jobs laying around because we would have found them. But, oh man. And then there's a good article about why voting in local elections really matters as far as like your school board and your your city government and your county government, and yeah, it all matters. Um, we've really found that out so much this year. I wanted to also mention, speaking of other programs, the Austin rent relief program is still
Hmm.
operating. I think it still has money from what I've heard, and that's a really good program too, because it helps the renter and the landlord, right? It doesn't just cancel your rent; it actually pays your rent to the landlord. So you're not putting your landlord out of business,
Right.
And we have seen that, people's rental houses or housing being sold out from underneath them in this crazy reason, this crazy real estate market that we have here in Austin, in the Austin area, Central Texas area. It's still just booming, and yeah. So, have you heard from anybody that's taken advantage of any of those city programs, Mark?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either, but we should keep talking about them. I know
Mhm.
our brother Russell, who's not here today, but he knew some people in the Houston area that were taking
Hmm.
advantage of the Houston program, and yeah, yep, it's rough times, but yeah. All right. Well, what have you heard from musicians going back to work, man?
Well, it's a trickle,
Yep.
I mean, a few clubs are starting to open or reopen.
Mm-hmm.
I played an event last night, which was a reopening of sorts, and I think there's going to be more and more of those for the next couple, 3 months as clubs and music venues open up.
Yep.
Um, it's an interesting time because as things come back, we're sort of hoping that the standards, the levels of unemployment will be a little bit more sustaining in terms of the uh, wages for musicians and working situations. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the case we need to keep making. I think we really can't count on programs or politicians to make that case for us. I mean, they can help us sometimes, but we got to make it for ourselves. That music generates income, and yeah, they can't keep all of it. They got to they got to share it with the musicians.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, my experience has been so far that there seems to be a willingness amongst music business people, but also just the public, the kind of paying customer or whatever you want to pony up a little bit more, to realize
Seeing
that,
good tip jar hauls and stuff
well,
sometimes.
not only that, but just, paying people something,
Hmm.
paying people some,
Yeah.
so.
We all got to stay in our houses, man. Yeah. 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 I was at an event last night with one of the clubs that reopened down on Red River with Congressman Lloyd Doggett. Did like a little press conference out there that he invited the union office to. So I went down to that. That was really nice.
Mhm.
Although a delivery truck pulled up like right during the conference, and the engine noise like drowned out everybody talking.
Oh,
Not everybody got to really talk or be heard, but it was a nice, yeah, it was a nice event.
nice gathering. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
always good
cool.
to see Congressman Doggett, of course,
Yep.
and I got to see some musicians I hadn't seen in months and months and months.
Hmm.
It was like, oh man. So yeah, I got to say hi to Lauren, and saw Ray, and Sam was on stage
Hmm.
um, with the Heartless Bastards, which that was the headliner. That was a really great show.
Hmm.
And across the street from there, they also opened up, I think, a few days before, and so yeah, it's starting to come back, and um, yeah, yeah, we got to be ready to assert ourselves as far as our worth, even more
Yeah.
so than before. And union musicians usually are a little more poised to do that. But we got to encourage our brothers and sisters to everybody else, to ask for what you're worth. You don't get anything you don't ask for, and you certainly don't get anything you don't put in a contract. usually. So yeah, that's a big thing. So cool, man. All right. Any work coming up this weekend?
You mean this? Yeah, I'm working this weekend
A little bit.
a fair amount around town.
Excellent.
And then next weekend I go to Fort Worth and Dallas for one gig in each place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I mean, little by little, you know.
Yeah, I've got a little trio thing tomorrow, and then Sunday we're doing the Union Hall stream again. That'll be up. That's starting to fill in the new version of that on Sundays. They're most of them are six. It's 6 or 8 o'clock Central Time on this same new YouTube channel. But they're only up that night. That's the tricky thing, is there's no archive.
Right.
There's no recording or archive. And I don't know if we've talked about this on this show, but the reason for that is that the money for that comes from the recording industry itself, from the record labels actually fund that series. That's what the MPTF is money from the recording industry.
Right.
And it's meant to fund live performances. So normally it wouldn't fund a stream or any kind of recording.
That was accessible later. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So this is like the adaptation for COVID. So yeah, there can't be an archive. So you can only see it on Sunday night if you're not working. But the viewer, of course, come see us on Sunday. The one this Sunday is at 6 to 7. And then it disappears into the ether. Right? And it's going to be good though. Yeah. So it's Joe Blanda and Monty Mann playing duo, which is really cool. Yeah. So man, gosh, anything else we should talk about before we sign off?
I think that's it. That's all I had.
That's all I had. Yeah. Let me check the chat. No questions there. So that was your chance, the viewer. If you have questions, you can always email the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee, which we may have to find a better name for that too. Now that we've found a better name for the stream, but
the Get Back Committee.
Maybe the Get Back Committee. Oh, that's good. That might be good. That might be a good band name.
Yeah.
But
the Get Back. Yeah. Right.
The Get Back Committee. Yeah. Anyway, that's at ucac at afm433.com. If you want to ask us a question about that. I think the real questions really need to be directed to the governor about why. But he's not alone. There are lots of other governors making that same decision, unfortunately. So, All right, brother. Well, we'll be here next week. Have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
Take care.